Hello and welcome to another episode of How Do You Do That? What? How do you do that? Well, it's been a long time since we've been here, but we're coming back and we're going to do some math today. What are we doing today? Well, today we're going to be looking at how to use the place value sections method for doing multiplication. So the first thing we need to do is, well, we have to come up with our multiplication problem. So all the multiplication problems that we're going to be working on will be two digit by two digit. So for instance, let's say you have the multiplication problem 53 times 35. Well, the first step to doing the place value sections method is going to be creating a large rectangle. And so we're going to create this large rectangle kind of around where we have our multiplication problem already set up. Now, does the rectangle have to be any specific dimensions? No, not exactly. I'm not worried about that because we're not using this rectangle to measure. It's just going to be an outline for how we can set up our numbers. So hopefully it's a little bit easier to do our multiplication. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to create a smaller portion here and a smaller portion here. And this will make more sense in just a second. The place value sections method for multiplication is going to be used to find just that, the place value of our numbers. So what's going to happen is this box right here is going to be where our ones is going to go. And then this section right here is going to be our ones also. This larger section will be our tens, and this larger section will be our tens as well. Well, let me show you what that actually means. So our first factor here is 53. So what's going to happen is we're going to, in this larger section, we're going to say, well, this is 50 plus 3. So we're using the expanded form of 53. And what this represents is that this row is 50, and this row will be 3. And then on this section, this larger column will be 30, and the smaller column will be 5. So this is our tens column and our ones column. Now, this might seem a little bit more complicated now, but for the matters of doing the math, it actually makes it quite a bit easier when we're multiplying our numbers. So the first step is I need to do 50 times 30. That's what this represents, 50 times 30. And as you can see, I put my ones in grids and I put my tens in separate grids to use that place value a little bit better. Now, there's a couple ways we can do this. One way is that we can say, well, 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 5 is 0. Then we're going to drop a 0 down because we're shifting over to the tens column. 3 times 0 is 0, and 3 times 5 is 1,500. And we can add these together. Well, that's one way to do it. But really the easier way to do it is say, well, we know that if we have factors of 10, so 50 and 30 are factors of 10, well, that 5 times 3 is going to be 15. And then I can just say, well, that's 1 0 there and 1 0 there, and add my two zeros. And that will give me the same product, 1,500. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, this row is still 50, so we're going to say 50 times, now we're looking at the 5 column, 50 times 5. And if I know that 5 times 5 is 25, I can add 1 0 for the tens, and then that'll bring it up to 250. Then we're going to skip down to our next row. Well, this row is 3, and this column is 30, so that gives me the multiplication 30 times 3. And I know that 3 times 3 is going to be 9. And again, I have 1 0, so I'm going to put 90. And then last but not least will be the 5 column with the 3 row, which will give me 5 times 3, which is equal to 15. Now, we're not done yet because this gave us our basic multiplication partial products of 1,500, 250, 15, and 90. And now what we need to do is add these all together so we can get our total product for this multiplication problem. So our total product would be, well, we're going to add 1,500 500 plus 250 plus 90 plus 15. And the great thing about graph paper, what I love about it is that it's a lot easier that I can see that this is my ones column. I can see this is my tens column. And if I line them up that way, it's a lot easier for me just to see my numbers so I can work with them. So again, going back, 0 plus 0 plus 5 is going to be 5. Now, 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 5 more is going to be 15. Well, because this is in the tens column, so really 90 plus 10 is 100, plus 50 more is 150. So that is, and the number 150, well, I have 5 tens, but I need to regroup 100. So that's really what that means when we're regrouping that 1. And then I could say, well, 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 1 is 8, but it's really 500 plus 200, which is 700, plus 100 more, which is 800. And then there's only 1,000, and that gives me 1,855. So for the multiplication, 53 times 35, the answer is 1,855. And this is how you can solve this problem by using the place value sections method for multiplication. Again, thanks for tuning in. Hope that you learned something. And if you have any other questions, feel free to contact me. Thanks.